My name is William McLamb, or Chase. Um, so, this video is a compilation of interviews that I conducted to ascertain people's understanding of feminism and how it functions in society, and also their understanding of gender inequality, or equality, and how it functions in society. So, I'm going to read off the questions that I'm going to be asking the interview participants, or the interviewees. Um, there are 9 questions. First, what does feminism mean to you? What do you think feminism means to the U.S. culture? Are women equal to men in your mind? Do you treat men and women equally? Do your friends treat men and women equally? Have you encountered gender inequality at work? Has gender bias affected your education? Has gender bias affected your career? What should be done to foster gender equality? Now, that being said, let's get right into the interview. Also, all of the interviewees chose to speak very quietly, so I recommend headsets if you have any, or just turn up the volume. Now let's watch the interviews.
What does feminism mean to you? Don't have a clear-cut definition right now in my mind of feminism, but I think that feminism means understanding women's place, and not really their place, but understanding what women stand for, and um, finding ways to make sure that their rights are respected and equal.
Feminism, to me, is basically equal rights for women, social and economic.
So, feminism to me, I believe it has two definitions. I believe it started out as a very just cause, like most believe it does today. I believe that feminism, when it began in modern culture, not women's rights back in the civil rights era, but in modern culture, feminism meant to be equal with man. It meant for all the rights and prejudices that men used at the time needed to be eliminated in order for everything to be equal and have equal opportunity, and for things not to be judged on gender or sex. However, I believe that it's developed past a point now where it is starting to infringe on man's rights. It's starting to become more of a men are starting to become just known to feminists as a global problem, and it's starting to become stereotypical that a man is a bad person, which is where it starts irritating me. I believe fully in equality, that everyone should be equal, but when it starts to begin to infringe on someone else's rights, like it is beginning to, that is when I begin to have a problem.
What do you think feminism means to U.S. culture? I think it's important that we recognize feminism. We have a lot of strong female leaders in our nation and in the world, and I believe that, for representation of women and for just growth in our culture, I think it's important. And I'm still coming at this from a standpoint of equality, understanding, and respect for women.
Feminism and what it means in the U.S. culture, I would say, has evolved over the years in the last 30 years, but basically it's always been the struggle for women to be recognized as equal to men.
Well, feminism to U.S. culture, like everything, there's two sides. Currently, if we're talking politically, it means conservatives and liberals. And usually you can associate a certain ideology with one of those, let's say, parties. With conservatism, feminism is the idea, I guess, that I just stated in the previous answer, that it's beginning to be a thing where it's trying to infringe on men's rights, and there's an ideology of all men are bad and are trying to ruin women's lives and are trying to take advantage of women. However, on the other side, liberalism, this is just big stereotypes. This isn't, set in stone, but in liberalism, it is ideology of women trying to gain control and gain back the equality that they've lost over the years. And that they're just trying to make everything equal. Everyone be set together. No one be prejudiced by an aspect that you're born with.
Are women equal to men in your mind? Physically, women are not equal to men. Men definitely are stronger. Women should be equal to men in the workplace. As far as managerial positions, as far as political positions, I think women are as good as men. But there are times and places where I think, I don't, call me old-fashioned, but I don't think you should have a young lady on the boys' high school football team. There are situations where it is a man's world or it is a young lady's world, and that's just my viewpoint.
Are women equal to men? In my mind, yes, for the most part, we're all equal. We have the same views, thoughts, feelings, but there are many physical characteristics that are different and not equal to men.
I do believe that men and women are equal. I believe that of course there are certain things that a woman can't do that a man can do. That's just part of being born. If we're talking about genetically, then the world's fastest woman will never be as fast as the world's fastest man because of the pelvis and how it is genetically made, due to the sex organs, is that the woman's pelvis kind of rotates outward while the man's pelvis, this is when running, the man's pelvis is very straight, and so just that little bit will kind of hinder the woman from being as fast as the man. Genetically speaking, there are some things that women can't do, and there's some things that women can do that men can't do. But other than that, as far as society goes, yes, I do believe that men and women are equal.
Do you treat men and women equally? I would say in the workplace, with work relationships, I do try to treat them equally. But as in general, no. Women and men are different as far as my social life and my own personal life. I would say that I wouldn't ask a guy friend to go get a pedicure and go to dinner. I've been married 25 years, and I just wouldn't do that. So there are differences as far as what I would do with men friends and what I would do with women friends. But in the workplace as a whole, I try to treat people equally as far as things go at work or church or whatever.
Do I treat women different than men? I would say I behave differently around women than I do most men. If a woman walks in the room, I usually respond a little differently than when a man walks into the room. I think that's perfectly normal. But for the most part, yes, I treat women identical to men. It really doesn't matter.
I treat everyone equally. Race, gender, sex, height differentials, it doesn't matter to me. It's more through your personality. If you are a nice person, then I will treat you nice. And if you are rude and just generally a mean person, then I will treat you the same way that you act. So I treat everyone equally. There is no, if I see a woman, I start thinking that I'm better than her or that I'm stronger. No, it's just I treat her like an average person, like anyone.
Do your friends treat men and women equally? I do believe my friends treat men and women equally for the most part. There are some situations where women are treated a little differently during different emotional times, where they might reach out to them more if they're having bad time or family issues or kid issues, where if it was a guy you don't really reach out so much because they just don't talk about it as much. So yeah, my friends treat women and men fairly equally for the situation at hand.
Yes, my friends treat women differently than men.
My close friend circle does treat men and women equally. There is no bias towards one another, and there isn't a, oh, she's a girl, let's go pick on her, or vice versa. That's very equal environment.
I have not encountered gender inequality at work. I've been in the workforce for 32 years. I do know there are situations where that appears to be what has happened in my workplace or other workplaces. But I truly believe that lots of times when there's a promotion or a job or something, I feel like the individual that's most deserving or better prepared is the one that's selected. I was on diversity team for 3 years, and we worked hard to promote equality, gender, age, whatever the different situations were. So no, I can't actually say I have personally encountered gender inequality at work.
I have never encountered gender inequality in the workplace.
Yes, I have encountered gender inequality at my work. Only on a couple of instances, though. I will not say the name of the place I do work because I do respect them very much. They are an amazing establishment. I respect what they do. However, there are instances such as I am a 6'5" boy or man, whatever you want to call it, and I am always the one called upon to reach any things on the top shelves of anywhere, or to lift any really heavy objects. They'll always call on me to do any heavy lifting whatsoever. And so that's just more of my height and the fact that I am stronger than most of the others at my workplace that this happens. And so usually the guys in this case are called because we're usually taller or more muscular than the girls. And all of the girls there are okay with it because they know that their height kind of harms them from being able to reach, things that are where I can barely reach as a 6'5" guy. However, there is a part of our restaurant that it's where everyone eats. It's where all of our tables and everything is, and the person that goes out there has to clean up the bathrooms, has to clean up messes, clean up the tables, wipe down tables. They have all of this to do. But it is a general rule that guys did this only because it was just a really dirty job, and this is what was explained to me. And those just things are usually ran by girls or cashiers, so are guys. Just girls and guys are cashiers, but girls will be cashiers and do drive-through and do kitchen, and guys will do kitchen, drive-through, window, and cashier. Do everything a girl does, but guys are the only ones that are going to go out and do the tables and cleaning and bathrooms and all that. And this was recently changed because now we have 2 or 3 girls that will do it, but it used to be where only guys did it.
Has gender bias affected your education? I have been in the workplace for 32 years, so back when I was in college, I do not recall any kind of gender bias that was affecting my education, and that was through graduate school as well.
To my knowledge, gender bias has never affected my education.
Gender bias has affected my education, mainly because I've had almost every single English teacher I've ever had has been extremely liberal and has not been afraid to show it in the classroom. And for some reason, along with their liberalism, they would always have this very, very strong mindset of that girls had to be better than guys, and one would outright every single day say that girls were better than guys academically and every other aspect, and it was constantly just, it was annoying. And one would only call on girls to present at the top of the class, and in front of the class, and that's how you got extra credit on projects and papers that you wrote. And she would always crack down on the guys whenever there was trouble in the class, and it was never a girl's fault. And so it was really annoying, and you could just tell that she was doing it on purpose. Also had a history teacher like that, and I've never met a teacher that has been biased towards guys, ever. It's always been towards girls. And it's not the fact that I wouldn't notice because it was biased towards guys, but it was just really obvious when it was biased towards girls, which was in most of my English classes throughout high school.
Has gender bias affected your career? Not that I know of. If it has, I am unaware. cannot think of an example where I think it might have affected my career. I've always tried to do the right thing, speak up for the right purpose, and don't degrade anyone in the process, but just make sure everything's on the up and up. And I believe those are the keys. It doesn't have to do with my gender.
I cannot think of one single case where gender bias has affected my career.
Gender bias, I guess you could say it affected my career, kind of like question number 6 about my workplace. It has made it to where I am the one that's called upon to carry and lift heavy objects and reach things on the top shelf, which of course I'm happy to do because a job's a job and I'll do whatever. It doesn't really bother me that I am the one called upon. And it doesn't bother anyone else that they're not the ones to be called on because, you know, it's heavy lifting or having to like climb stuff to reach something. So it's affecting my career, but you know, not in a good or bad way. It's just I was called upon. And the reason why I was hired, I believe, is because they had an influx of girls, just a large amount of girls in the restaurant to begin with. And I think I was one of only 2 guys there when I started. And they might have had to do some gender equality measures, but that's all I can think of. Gradually it balanced out, but when I started I was the only guy out of 2.
What should be done to foster gender equality? I feel like we should teach respect for each other regardless of gender, race, whatever. I don't know that focusing on feminine rights or feminism or, you know, the male syndrome or whatever it is, I just think you really need to have more classes as far as teaching respect and that people are different and we all need to work together.
The single best thing we could do to foster gender equality in the United States is to quit labeling people. Simply stop the labeling. As soon as you do that, you put constraints and limits on all people. Let everyone stand on their own merits, and justifiably so.
I believe nothing should be done to foster gender equality. I believe everything that has been done up to now has set everything on the right track. A lot of it has gone overboard, and if we continue on this track, it will go overboard to the point where there's going to be a lashing out of, you know, I suppose men, and it's going to get to a point where there's going to be just a huge controversy over it. Like as of now, it's just, you know, a topic that's brought up and makes college students angry. But it will become much worse if we overextend. Because if anyone, as of now, starts to feel like their rights are being taken away, then they get very upset, and things begin to happen. Yeah, we'll put it like that. We're on a dangerous road if we carry on. So, hit pause and we'll be okay.